Kaiju fans, welcome back to the Kaiju World Order. My name is MM, and this is Monster of the Week, where, yeah, you get the drill. I'll just be talking and rambling on for about 10 minutes of a monster that was voted on by members of the Kaiju Hug Box. This week's monster is none other than the Vark from Monarch Legacy of Monsters. One of the original monsters from that specific series. Vark is an original creation made specifically for the Monsterverse. Now, what is the Vark? Well, it is what happens when you combine a pangolin with a star-nosed mole with the suction powers of my vacuum cleaner. And yeah, so you get this weird armored face tentacle thing that really likes the cold. We don't know much about the Vark and its role in the ecosystem of where it is and how it can travel between the Hollow Earth and Alaska. But we do know there is, or at least there was, a entrance, a portal, whatever you want to call it, that was shut down. But one thing that is to note is the Vark kind of walks the balance between a titan and a super species. The Monsterverse has gotten itself into a bit of a conundrum when it comes to the classification of their monsters. We got some things like Godzilla and Shimo and Scylla and everything else, which are just called titans. They're kaiju by any other name. And then we have other things like, say, the Warbat or the Drowned Viper, and possibly even the apes that Kong is part of, are really more super species, which just don't have superpowers, I guess, but yet the Vark has a weird ability to suck in temperatures to automatically freeze targets. So what exactly is the Vark? Is it a titan or a super species? I don't know. The classification system, as I said, is kind of dumb. I'm just using this as a time to vent on why I think it's dumb, and this is why. So the Vark could just be said to be a smaller monster that just happens to be part of a food chain, but instead we only see the one. But given its size, it's only 40 feet, there's no way this thing would be a legit threat to, say, Godzilla or Kong or anything else in its universe. Hell, Doug is bigger than this thing, which means Doug could probably eat this thing and swallow it whole. That's how small it is in comparison to the other Monsterverse monsters. But as I said, we don't know much about the Vark. The thing is just wandering around the Alaskan wilderness and just minding its own business until some humans come up, including the cast of Monarch with Kurt Russell and the rest of the kids. And it nearly kills them. It kills their South Korean guide, and then just nopes off and occasionally comes back every now and then to hassle them until they are rescued from the frozen wasteland that is Alaska. Don't go there, folks. By the end of the series, we don't know if the Vark is even alive or dead. We see it jumping at a helicopter just as the portal or the entrance to the Hollow Earth or whatever is shut by Lee. And then supposedly it just blows up, but again, this is supposed to be a titan, so it should be able to survive at least that type of stuff. So maybe we'll see it again. Who knows? But as of now, that's all we've seen of the Vark is very brief appearances in 3 episodes of the first season of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Now, for powers, we don't have like an ice ray or anything here. The Vark is very mundane. Really, it's not even so much a frost breath, it's just inhaling temperature. Don't ask me how it works, because it also seems to do it to fire in the same way Gamera eats fire. this thing eats heat, including thermal temperature of living beings such as humans. So when it does this little inhalation, suction, vortex, whatever, it doesn't actually suck with like sucking power. This is a weird sentence to say, but it doesn't suck with sucking power, but instead just breathes in the temperature, which reduces the targets, its victims, whatever, to frozen states. So that's it. We know it can jump. It appears to be armored to the point it could most likely withstand some firepower. And yeah, that's the Frost Vark. Now how, as I said, how it would fight against monsters like Godzilla and Kong when it's so small means I don't think it would be much of anything. However, it could be kind of like the ice boars from Godzilla the series. These were also mole-like, burrowing, free tundra monsters that Godzilla fought in the 90s cartoon. And they were relatively small compared to him, and they just kept launching themselves at him and trying to attack him and using numbers to their advantage. That's the only way I could see the Frost Vark doing anything to pretty much anything, is if it has numbers on its side. Now, I guess we could blow it up to at least the size of, say, Doug in the Monsterverse, but even then, it's just going to get torn apart. It doesn't have an actual, like, freeze beam like, say, Shimo does. It doesn't have a mist where it automatically freezes everything around it like Barugon does. Instead, this thing just happens to eat heat, and when it does, it leaves whatever it ate frozen. And that's all I really got to say here. There's not much to talk about with Frost Vark. Wish we'd see some more. I hope we see it again. I do love the figure. I've been over here just fidgeting with it as I record this. But until next time, Kaiju fans, peace out, and Minya, take it away.
Says you should like and subscribe.